PGF Nation, this year's college football quarterback class might be one of the deepest and most talented we have ever seen, and it all starts with the consensus top two quarterbacks entering the season, Arch Manning, Dante Moore. Look, we've gone back and watched more tape on these guys. We're going to tell you what makes these guys special and what they need to improve on, plus which one is the better quarterback prospect right now. I'm Brad Fowler. He's Alex Higdon. It's never too early, Alex, to start talking top quarterbacks.
Absolutely. I mean, like you said, it was shaping up to be not as good as Caleb Williams at the top, but I think at least deeper, where you can probably find somebody in the second, possibly third rounds, where you can still find somebody that's a suitable starter.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the top two guys going into this class, obviously with Arch Manning and Dante Moore, and kind of look at, okay, who's actually QB1, right, as of right now. But just to give you guys a little sneak peek behind the curtain, we are going to come out with the top quarterbacks for the 26 college football season coming up before the season starts, guys. Be on the lookout for that. We're going to talk about this group because, like I mentioned in the intro, this group is deep, really deep. There's a lot of guys in this class. And like you said, in the draft, there's going to be a lot of guys to pick from. I think there's going to be a ton of guys that go in the first round. But like you said, I think there's going to be value even in the second and third. I think there's going to be some really interesting prospects in this class. But let's start with these top guys, Alex. Let's start with Arch Manning, of course, the biggest name in college football. The guy that everyone's been excited about since he was a sophomore in high school. I mean, we were talking about this kid when he was 14 years old, man. It's like it was Tiger Woods or something, or LeBron James, right? Like that's really kind of who this kid was. You know, if you think about it, like that's how popular this guy has been with that last name. That's how much hype there's been around Arch Manning going all the way back to his high school days. People couldn't even wait to see where he was going to play college ball. We assumed it was going to be in the SEC. We didn't know where he was going to go. Was he going to go to Tennessee like Peyton? Was he going to go to Ole Miss? We didn't know what was, he decides to go to Texas. And obviously now here we are going into year 2 with him as his second year as a full-time starter. I can't wait to see the improvement, but let's go off what we've seen so far. So far, what we've seen, give me your breakdown, Alex. Like I said, we've been watching tape, so let me know what does he do well? What makes Arch Manning special?
So I think the thing is with Arch Manning, the first and foremost out the gate is the last name. Like let's just talk about what is intriguing about him off top. You have the grandfather, you have his Uncle Peyton, and you have his Uncle Eli. Both Super Bowl winners. Both probably, well, one is in the Hall of Fame. One's probably going to be in the Hall of Fame in the next maybe 5 years. They both have 2 Super Bowls between them. So the lineage or the bloodline off top is top of the line. That's number one. That's number one. Because if his last name wasn't Manning, I don't think we're talking about him that much. We're talking about him as a first round pick, but we're probably going in the other direction of the number one pick. But that's neither here nor there. Now, number 2, even just because it was his first year starting, and really the only time we've seen him start a stretch of games, this is all we have to go off of. He started out nervous, and then towards the back end of the year, he started being strong. He started looking at cues. He started looking at plays down the field. The offensive line wasn't that great, but it is supposed to be better this year. Oh, everybody coming back, I believe, is a junior or senior. He's got junior and senior receivers coming in as well. So he has a very suitable team that he's going to step on the field with. And for that, he's going to have a lot of progress. And I'm just talking about the offensive side of the ball. Now we'll talk about defense later. But offensively, he should have a really good year. I won't say great year. I say he should have a really good year. 30-something touchdowns, no more than 8 picks. I think that's what he'll be. I'm not going to talk about where they'll rank at the end. We're just talking about the quarterback and how he's going to rank up compared to Dante Moore.
Yeah, I think athletically, this kid's just different. I mean, you're talking about the prototypical size, big frame, big arm. Like I said, pretty rare athlete. This guy can move, man. I mean, unlike Eli and Peyton, this guy can really move. And he's a dangerous player with his legs. Uncork the deep ball, make defenses pay when he gets off script. That's just something, obviously, we never saw that from his uncles, right? You got to go back to Grandpa, where Archie had that in his game. If you go all the way back and watch his old tape, he was a scrambler. He was an athlete. Arch Manning looks a lot more like him than he does his uncles. I mean, we're talking about a big athlete who really moves well. And I think that's the one dimension to his game that just makes his ceiling so high, because he can turn those plays into chunk plays at any given time. What I really, really like about his game is how the ball just effortlessly pops off his hand. It's got that jump. He can, like I said, he can uncork that deep ball, just beautiful. 389 yards and 4 touchdowns against Arkansas. I went back and watched some of that tape. I know Arkansas wasn't a good team, but man, just carved them up. I think that was kind of one of those games where it's a little bit of proof of concept people have been waiting for. The release, he's got that compact, nice release. Ball just comes out with zip. He can drive the ball into those breaking routes, those tight windows. What really stands out, maybe more than any part of his game, though, the pocket presence is elite. For a guy who's got 1 year of true starting experience, he is so poised in the pocket. He knows when to climb, when to slide, always keeps his eyes downfield, doesn't create pressure, doesn't panic. By the middle of the season, you could tell that defenses had a real problem. Do you spy him, or do you try to commit guys into coverage? Because that's how dangerous he became, a legit dual threat guy. And I think in the modern I should say modern football, because it's college football as well, but just the modern game, you really got to have a quarterback who can move. You know, the guys like Jared Goff that are becoming dinosaurs, that they're becoming extinct. You know, those guys are not going to exist very much longer in the league, because look, college football is producing these types of players now who can move and throw and make plays off script and buy their offensive lineman time. Arch Manning does that as well as anybody. And I think late in the year, to your point, Alex, the improvement that we saw late in the year was impressive. I mean, throwing guys open, not waiting for guys to get open, throwing with more anticipation. He just looked more comfortable. He looked more in command of the offense before the snap. Like you said, changing protections, taking control of the line of scrimmage, doing some of the little things that you can kind of see the evolution. And when you add in the 8 rushing touchdowns to what he did through the air, this is a dangerous player, man. And I think it's understandable why the ceiling for this guy is so high. Now, you do see some things he needs to work on. And I think maybe the most surprising, because of his last name that you alluded to, he's got some mechanics that I think he needs to work on, which I did not expect. I expected him to come in and have basically perfect mechanics, right? With the type of coaching he's had, I'm sure his whole life, he's got some times where the mechanics break down. The footwork can get a little sloppy. The arm release can get a little sloppy sometimes. Most of his mistakes and the growing pains were in the early part of the year. You know, 5 of his 7 picks were in the first 5 games. He was looking for too many big plays, wasn't taking the easy completions, but after the Florida game, you could see the adjustments. You could see week by week, he stopped forcing throws, learned to take more checkdowns, wasn't trying to force things, knew kind of when to be aggressive and when to be patient. And by the end of the year, man, this guy was starting to look like a really, really good player. I'm excited to see what he can do this upcoming season, because one thing he already does at a really high level for a young quarterback is he makes full field reads. He gets through his progressions. Like I said, the pocket presence is legitimately A+. If he can clean up the mechanics a little bit, especially when the pocket collapses, and the accuracy, I think, is going to naturally climb once that happens this year. Let's compare him to Dante Moore now. Because, look, Dante Moore, I think, would have been the number 2 pick in the draft if he would have came out. That's how good this guy was after 1 year of starting himself, right? He did have the 5 starts at UCLA as a freshman. And then, of course, he transfers to Oregon, decides that he's okay in the backup role to Dylan Gabriel, just kind of works on his craft behind the scenes as the backup quarterback, doesn't really get any snaps, learns the system at Oregon, and then last year gets his first opportunity to be the full-time starter. And wow, this guy looked absolutely like the 5-star quarterback that he was coming out in that class with Arch Manning.
Right. And now I'll say this, and because a lot of what we're predicting is based on the team around them. So this is the angle that I'm coming from when I talk about Dante Moore. Dante Moore is good. That I'll say this first and foremost. His ease of throwing and the motion and the way the ball, like, it looks like it softly arrives in your hands down the field, 5 yards, 12 yards, 30 yards. It looks like it's a beautiful ball. He throws a beautiful, beautiful ball. That's the number one thing that I noticed. Just not paying attention to step. Just wow,
clean.
He's so clean. Yeah, he's so clean. That release is second to none for the most part. Now,
I'm with you.
Coming back now, Oregon is basically bringing back their whole team. Now they have freshmen, but the freshmen might play, might not play. So let's just put them to the side for a moment. But they're basically bringing back their entire team. They're loaded. Now, I will say this: mostly everybody on offense is really sophomores for the most part. If I'm not mistaken, everybody that I looked at was. Let me just check again while I'm talking to you. But I believe everybody was just sophomores. I don't know. Okay, so their slot guy is a transfer, and they have a right tackle that's a senior transfer as well. That's the start. That's in the current starting lineup as of right now. Everybody's basically everybody, all skill possession, running back, wide receivers, tight end. They're all sophomores, and that I don't think plays well into what I foresee for Dante Moore, only because everybody around him is young. He is going to be the person. There's no Kenyon Sadiq there anymore. There's a couple other guys that aren't there anymore, but he's going to be the guy that's going to have to coach them up, that's going to have to talk them up, and that's going to have to put the ball in their hands to make plays. Now, I think he takes a step back. I believe he was 32-10 last year, 3,500 yards for the most part. I think he'll still get to 30 touchdowns, but I think there'll be more interceptions for the most part. However, Oregon still a successful team, still a team that's a potential to make the playoffs. That we'll pick our playoffs when we get closer to the season. But again, right. Beautiful release. He seems not to have anything to work on, just in terms of naked watching his release and the ball placed in Kenyon Sadiq or whoever's hands with no problem. I'm sorry, I forgot the wide receiver's name. Dakarian Moore. Thank you, Dakarian Moore. Beautiful throws, beautiful passes, beautiful catches. It's just like he just reached out his arm and placed it in his hand 30 yards down the field. But because the team is so young, I don't think he's going to have as much success, meaning 10 interceptions and just 30 touchdowns. I think he'll throw for more yards. I think he may throw for more touchdowns, but I think the interceptions are going to be, respectfully, I think they're going to be like 15 to 17, only because he's working with a lower classman. He's going to have to be the leader that's going to coach them up. And I haven't seen him do it, but I don't know if he has the voice to motivate and get these guys up.
Quick shout out to our friends at props.cash, the best player prop research tool in the game. Props.cash lets you scan thousands of props across sports books to quickly spot the highest value opportunities. You get real-time injury and lineup intel, advanced filters to find exactly what you're looking for, and even correlated player props so you can see what tends to hit when a player goes over their line. They cover NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, college football, college basketball, and the WNBA. It's legit next level prep. If you're serious about betting smarter, go to props.cash and use code PGF25 for 25% off your first month. That's code PGF25 for 25% off your first month at props.cash. The official ticketing app of Pint Glass Football is now SeatGeek. I can't recommend them enough, guys. I've been using SeatGeek for years. You want to go to a game this season? SeatGeek is here to take the confusion out of buying tickets, making sure you get the best seats at the best prices. With SeatGeek, you'll never have to worry about overpaying for tickets again. How? They put a 0 to 10 score on each ticket, so you know you're getting a good deal. But here's the real game changer. You can get $20 off your first ticket purchase with the code PGFPOD. That's right, $20 off with code PGFPOD. This season, make every game day epic with SeatGeek. Download the SeatGeek app and remember to enter the code PGFPOD to grab your $20 discount. Yeah, he's a quiet guy, confident guy, but he is a quiet leader. I have heard those reports, but you're right. I want to jump back to something you talked about, because I think the mechanics, the incredibly compact, clean, quick release, so clean, so efficient, on time, throws with anticipation. Look, Dante Moore might be the purest passer in college football.
Yeah.
I mean, it is just effortless. It looks so clean and easy. And when you talk about a guy who can layer the football better than anybody in this class downfield, the touch, the trajectory, the timing are all really, really sharp. He does a great job pre-snap, identifying coverage, getting into the quick reads, getting into his reads quickly, dropping those dig routes, crossing routes, right before the linebacker, right over the linebacker, right before the safety. I mean, he just throws that beautiful, and you got to be able to do that at the NFL level, because we know the NFL is going to force you. If you can't layer the ball in the NFL, you're in big trouble. And so I think this is a guy where that already jumps off the tape.
Yeah, but bar none, we are in total, complete agreement here. That the footwork, the position to throw, the hook, the arm release, absolutely perfect.
It's beautiful. Yeah, it's beautiful, man. And then, he had some big moments. We talked about some of Arch Manning's big moments, right? He had some moments late in the year where Arch started to really come on. There were some games that really jumped out when I watched the tape with Dante Moore. That game against Penn State, the whiteout, double overtime, big-time defense, he made some huge throws in that game. I mean, huge throws in that game, especially in big, crucial moments. Like I said, with the game on the line, really was what, let's be honest, that loss is really what caused Penn State to unravel.
And to be fair, if I'm not mistaken, that there wasn't a lot of passing yards in that game too. That was a defensive game, if I'm not mistaken.
It was a battle, and he ended up throwing 3 touchdowns in that game, which is pretty incredible. The Texas Tech game in the Orange Bowl, Texas Tech had a top 10 defense in the country. We know about Jacob Rodriguez. We know about David Bailey and Lee Hunter and, Height and all these guys that got drafted. They were loaded on defense. That Texas Tech defense was legit. He goes out, wins Orange Bowl MVP, and was lights out. The game against Washington on the road, hostile environment, big-time rivalry game, 286 yards, made multiple just NFL-level throws. And then another game that jumped out, Alex, was the Iowa game against a loaded Iowa defense on the road, another hostile environment, miserable weather, pouring down rain. He made a throw late in that game, that final drive that he led Oregon to the winning score to win that game. That throw down the sideline, he fits that ball into a window the size of a shoebox. I mean, it is such a good throw. It's, like I said, in the rain, nasty conditions, and just laces this thing. He's got the touch, like you said, the accuracy and the touch are just unreal from this guy. And I also love the short memory that this guy had, because if you remember the USC game, another big ranked opponent, USC is trying to get back to the playoff. They had a really good team with Jade Mayava and Makai Lemon and all those guys. He throws that interception early against USC. Watching that game, I'm thinking, oh, maybe USC's got something here. Maybe this is a chance for Lincoln Riley and USC to finally have a big marquee win. Nope. Immediately comes back the very next drive with a touchdown drive. It's like he throws the pick, and the very next drive he's like, no, give me the ball. Just carves up USC right down the field. Like, we're not losing this game. Boom, boom, boom. That's exactly the kind of response you want from your quarterback, right? Like, hey, you make a mistake, you come back and just carve him up the next drive. Inside the pocket, he's calm, he climbs, he resets his feet, he delivers, he rarely bails backwards. We talked about the pros and cons, right? We talked about some of the cons with Arch and some of the things he needs to clean up. He can get a little sloppy at times, needs to show a little more accuracy. I think Arch misses some of the layups sometimes. Like, he makes a wow throw, but he misses a layup, and you go, come on, like, you got to be able to hit that. some of the things with Dante that concern me is his worst game came against Indiana. Now, look, Indiana made a lot of teams look bad, but he took a lot of sacks. He was under pressure and he got rattled. And that was really the first time all year where I saw him really get rattled, through multiple picks that game. When they got pressure from the interior, it kind of sped up his footwork, sped up his mechanics. He got a little bit unraveled in that game, and the ball placement suffered. You can tell, like, that confidence and the things we talked about that make him special, those things, once they kind of got in his head a little bit, you could tell he was struggling to read the defense. He was struggling to kind of calm down and get back in the game. And, he's even admitted to the media, this is a guy that doesn't like to get hit. Now, he probably shouldn't have came out and said that, if we're being honest. But he's a guy that admittedly said, look, I don't like to get hit. And he admitted he doesn't like to run. Now, he can run, but he doesn't like to run. And it's unfortunate, because I think if he did run a little more, if he was a guy that was a little bit more of a threat with his legs, I think it would really open things up for him and make him a more dangerous player. So if I had any legitimate concerns, it might be that. Just the fact that, when you start hitting him, you start getting pressure on him, he has shown he can get rattled. And if you look, again, the rematch against Indiana in the playoff game, the very, very first play of the game, he makes a pre-snap read where he sees off-man coverage, and he assumes that that's an easy pitch and catch. And he predetermined his read, and it cost him, because the very first throw of the game, he thinks it's there. He forces the ball, pick six to open the game. The momentum immediately swung to Indiana, and they were never really able to recover from that point on. Yeah. So he's not a perfect prospect. Neither one of these guys are. But
hold on one second. I have a flag on Dante Moore as well, and it's not anything on the quote unquote field per se. It's his size. He's slim. He's tall. He's only 200 pounds. And you know who was slim, tall, and 200 pounds? Jaden Daniels. Yeah. Right. And although he's great and he looks like he's a guy, but he kept getting injured. And that's a problem that I'm going to see as we start to perhaps move into the draft talk, is that's going to be with Dante Moore. Is like, he's going to have to put on some type of weight. He's got to be at least 215. He can't be 200 pounds where, with Myles Garrett right. trying to take your head off you. That's not going to work. You're going to have to do something about that weight where it doesn't mess up your throwing mechanics. It doesn't mess up your footwork. You're going to have to put on weight, and you're not going to be able to put it on in 1 year. It's probably going to be a 2 to perhaps 3 year battle to get him to a weight where he's steady at.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think the one thing I will say is, I think with Jaden Daniels, it was more concerning because of his play style being, such a dual threat runner. Whereas Dante, like I said, doesn't really want to run, doesn't run much, doesn't really put himself in harm's way too much. So I don't think it's as concerning, but I think it's a valid point. I think he could beef up a little bit for sure, because he is kind of a tall, slender build for sure. Overall, though, I see a guy that's smart, composed, rhythm-based passer, outstanding touch, outstanding timing. I think he throws with great anticipation. I think there are some athletic limitations, and I think he's got to get better improving under pressure. But man, the arm talent, there's a lot to like. There is absolutely a lot to like about Dante Moore. Now, let's get a little more head-to-head here, okay? Here comes the fun part. If we're comparing these two quarterbacks today, right now, Alex, who has the higher ceiling?
Oh, without a doubt, it's Arch Manning. That's who has the higher ceiling to me. It's Arch Manning. Like you said, he's mobile, so there's going to be other plays that he's going to be able to create with his legs. And like you said, he started at the end of the season, he started throwing people open. And that's a difference that I see with him. He's got now his offensive lines are juniors and seniors, and last year those guys were sophomores and juniors. So now he's going in with juniors. He's going in with juniors and seniors. So he's been very well protected, which is in the case that you said he doesn't have to run. Well, you don't have to run because you are set up behind a line that's not going to hurt you. They're going to help you.
Yeah, for sure. And I to be fair too, I think Dante gets away with having less athleticism than a guy like Arch because of that compact quick release. right? He gets the ball out quick. He's smart. He knows where to go with the football for the most part. And so I think that helps him, right? Just boom, ball is out. So that really does kind of offset some of the lack of mobility for Dante Moore. But you're right. For me, it's Arch Manning. I'm with you. Higher ceiling, the athleticism, the arm strength. Because, look, he's got a bigger arm than Dante Moore. I mean, like I said a minute ago, he can uncork the deep ball where sometimes Dante Moore's deep ball just doesn't have the same level of zip.
Yeah.
But don't get me wrong, his arm's strong enough, but Arch Manning's got a big arm, and I definitely give him the edge there. And like you said, the off-script ability, that's just a big feather in his cap. Who's the more polished passer right now, though?
And without a doubt, it's Dante Moore. I think Dante Moore's the same things that we spoke about in the beginning before we even got into the whole Dante Moore talk was his arm position, his position in the arm, his footwork in the pocket, how he delivers the ball. Like you said, not a big arm, but wherever he's throwing the ball, he drops it and lays it in there perfectly.
Yep. More polished for sure. I think that like you said, the timing, the anticipation, the rhythm, the accuracy, Arch still needs to clean up the accuracy. Dante Moore, you don't see him miss much, man. Like I said, when he can thread the needle into those tight windows and put it right where it needs to be. Better athlete, I think we've already kind of hit on this.
Yeah,
I think it's Arch, and I don't think it's really particularly close. I think that could be one of the separators for them. Stronger arm.
That's Arch.
Probably Arch again as well. But who's throwing with better anticipation right now?
Okay, right now, I believe it's Dante Moore. Because Arch came on at the end of the season. He didn't start the beginning of the season. But then again, he didn't start the previous 2 years. So you know what I'm saying? So it's like you have to work it. You have to get yourself. Yeah, you have to get yourself. You have to get yourself up. And I mean, if I'm not mistaken, Dante Moore, this was last year was Dante Moore's first starting year, but he did start, I think it's 5 or 6 games at UCLA. So he had the momentum going into this year.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think that one's close because of, like you said, because the improvement we saw from Arch down the stretch. That one's close, but I think more as far as those anticipation throws, I'd give it to Moore there too. So let's put a bow on this because here's the question that everybody wants answered though. If the NFL draft were today, we're not projecting what happens in this upcoming season, but today, who's QB1?
QB1, and listen to some other podcasts. You know what? The Todd McShay's podcast. I'll just say it. Just listening to what was being talked about with them, I'm going to go opposite of them. I'm going to choose Arch Manning. And I'm going to choose Arch Manning not because of the last name, but because of his escapability, his mobileness. This is something that every quarterback that's coming in the league right now, every quarterback has to have. Like you can't draft a stay-at-home. Let me rephrase that. You can draft one, but the odds are you're going to probably go, if there's 2 guys there and they're the same, you're going to go for the guy that has the mobility because he can buy you time in the pocket and that can create downfield plays. So I would draft Arch.
And let's face it, it's become increasingly difficult to build a great O-line.
Yeah.
Because every April, what do we see? The draft just produces more pass rushers than they do O-linemen.
Yeah, hey.
They just look, the NFL can only create what college gives it, and the fact is that for the last 10 years we've seen a growing trend of lots and lots of great pass rushers and only a handful of elite offensive linemen. And what's happened is there's an imbalance now, and there's only a handful of really good offensive lines. I mean, like truly great offensive lines in the NFL. But what does every team have? They've got a really good pass rusher. Almost every team in the league's got one of those guys, it feels like. So, for every Penei Sewell, it feels like there's, a
2 or 3. Just 2 or 3.
A Myles Garrett and a Max Crosby and a TJ Watt and and on and on and on. It's like, and look at this upcoming draft. There's some good offensive line prospects, but once again, there's another group of elite pass rushers about to come in. So what am I trying to say here? Quarterback mobility has become at a premium.
Yep.
And so I'm with you. It's a lot harder to come into the league as a Jared Goff nowadays than it was when Jared Goff came out. And I'm not saying you can't do it, but Dante Moore is a lot closer to that than Arch Manning is. And I do think that is a big deciding factor here. I think right now Dante Moore is the better quarter. As far as if we're putting the whole puzzle together, I think Dante Moore is the better quarterback right now. But part of taking a draft pick is projection, right? That has to be built in. It's not just who they are in April. Who are they going to be in year 2? Who are they going to be in year 3, year 4? And for me, I think it's got to be Arch Manning. I'm with you. I don't think the gap is huge, though, Alex. I don't think it's a huge gap. I think Dante Moore is absolutely worthy of being in that conversation.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But I think I'm with you. I just think Arch, the combination of athleticism, the arm talent, the pocket presence, which once again, we brought it up because I don't think it gets talked about enough. And when I went back and watched tape, man, he's good in the pocket. Man, is he good. He is so good at knowing when to escape, when to climb, when to slide. And just once again, the improvement that we saw over last season, highest ceiling of any player in college football right now. If it's going to be fascinating, though, Alex, because who takes the bigger step this year is going to be really fun to watch. Because, look, these are two of the most loaded rosters in college football. And heck, Texas and Oregon might start the season 1-2. They might be 1-2 in the AP poll, Alex. I mean, that's how good these squads are. And so you can't really look at one and say, well, he's got a way better roster and he's got better. It's pretty close.
Close, yeah.
Shout out. We just
it's just the difference. It's just the difference in the ages in terms of who's a sophomore, junior, and senior. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. And then you can nitpick, well, who's got better talent around him, who's blah blah blah. We can go on that, another day, but it's going to be fun, man. QB1 is going to be fun to watch. And like I said, guys, always make sure you stay tuned because we are going to get into these other quarterbacks here soon. Probably in the next week or two, we're going to start talking about this draft class / college football group as a whole because it is loaded. And I'm telling you, there's going to be 12 guys we're going to talk about. There might be 15 guys that we mentioned in this quarterback group, Alex. It's going to be so much fun because there's so many other guys. Once you get past these two that we're going to get into, it's going to be an absolute blast. But, guys, do us a favor. Hit that subscribe button or that follow button right now so you don't miss any future episodes. Once again, I'm Brad Fowler. He's Alex Higdon. This is Pint Glass Football, and we'll catch you next time.